those who do not travel leave only one page. That was a quote by Augustine of Hippo. Hello and good afternoon. My name is Fatma Musa. I'm here to inform you about my journey to the United States and how it has shaped and changed my perspective on life. Various issues that I faced, such as culture shock, and the differences and similarities between my culture and the American culture. When I'm done, you will hopefully have a better understanding of cultural diversity and how shifting between two cultures can be a life-changing experience. By a show of hands, how many of you have traveled to a different country? Yes, most of you. Most of us have. And we usually do so to see beautiful sights. And according to the survey, most of us do so for a time span of around 2 weeks or less. Well, in my case, and in the case of many other students at ASU, we've done so for 4 or more years. We've traveled to learn, and we've traveled to be in a different state, a different country, simply a different place, to be there for 4 or more years, which can be very traumatizing, especially when you're from a very conservative culture or very conservative society. I hated the thought of leaving my mother alone, and I hated the fact that I had to leave her, leave my friends, leave my family, leave my comfort zone. But my mother always used to say that traveling abroad or traveling to a different country, simply being in a different place, is not about gaining superior academic knowledge or different academic knowledge. It was more about facing life issues and learning life skills by being away from them. And that in itself made it very hard to leave my mother. Another reason why I eventually decided to come here was because I got an almost full scholarship, and it sort of made refusing my mother all the time more difficult for me. And as Anthony mentioned the other day, it's not easy to leave your friends and family behind, and it creates factors in your experience such as culture shock. I will now be defining the term culture shock and how it has changed my experience here. The term culture shock means a state of bewilderment that an individual experiences by being in a new socially and culturally environment, in a social cultural environment. And of course, 95% of you here know what I'm talking about, as you've been through some kind of culture shock throughout your lives. I experienced culture shock, and I'm still experiencing it. It was very different moving from my society to the American society, and it was a traumatic experience. As you all know, culture shock is not simply about changing scenery, and as you can see, the scenery is not much different from my country to Tempe, Arizona. It's all mountains and deserts. It's more about leaving your comfort zone and learning how to be more open-minded towards other people's opinions. And it's more about knowing how to face certain issues and how to be more accepting towards other people's values and ideals and perspectives. The changes in ideals and perspectives are some of the differences that I noticed when I came here. And I will be discussing some of the hidden and more obvious differences that I noticed, as long as some of the similarities I noticed between my culture and the American culture. Some of the very hidden differences that I noticed was that Americans tend to speak very explicitly. In most Asian countries, we tend to do that very implicitly. We would never insult someone out in the public, or we rarely talk about issues such as sex, alcohol, or insulting religion. Especially, it's not done in the public, and it's all done to keep the harmony between people. And some of the more obvious differences were changes in clothing. As you can see, it was very hard to get used to seeing people transitioning from seeing people dressed and covered up from top to bottom to seeing people dressed in short shorts or tank tops, and being used to that. Another factor that was completely funny to me was that I had to get used to the food here, and the food I'm used to is all like rice and filled with spices and all of that, and it was very difficult getting used to food that had no or little spices in it, and it was one of the things that I had to go through and get used to here. Some of the similarities are similarities in the love for music, the love for dancing, and some of the simple ideals and perspectives such as being respectful to other people. I talked about my journey to the United States and how it has shaped my life, culture shock and how it has changed my life and how I'm still experiencing it, and how many foreign and international students do. And I then talked about some of the similarities and differences between my culture and the American culture. I also gave some examples on that. In conclusion, I would like to thank you for listening to me, and I hope that we can all become more open-minded towards people who are from different cultures and societies. As you can see, it can be a very traumatizing experience. Thank you.